Kolbecast, episode 215. Thank you for joining us. Today, Bonnie and I are joined by Kolbe problem solvers, Jeanne Ford and Colleen Pilon. As the Dean of Admissions and Customer Service Supervisor, respectively, this mother and daughter duo have been helping Kolbe families for years. Bonnie and I are able to pick their brains regarding the questions that people often have when investigating Kolbe Academy and how best to navigate the process of joining the Kolbe community. We hope that you'll enjoy the show.
Hi there, I'm Bonnie, Kolbe homeschooling mom of 4 lads and lasses, liturgical musician, popcorn, and podcast fanatic.
And this is Stephen, homeschooling father of 5 and chief homeschooling officer for Kolbe Academy.
Hi, Stephen. How's your day going?
Going very well. The meetings today, but all fun so far. Fun meetings. So,
Yay.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's exciting.
We'll take that. At the time this episode drops, we are in the middle of summertime 2024, so there's still some summer left. Then we might be thinking about getting our wits about us for the upcoming school year. So we have called in a couple of folks to help us get a good start on that and get organized and answer some typical questions that we see come up a lot in discussions. And I probably don't even know the half of it, the questions that these ladies field and have answered over the years. So I'd like to introduce Mrs. Jeanne Ford and Mrs. Colleen Pilon. Welcome to the Kolbecast, ladies. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, glad to be here.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Well, sure. I would love for you to tell us about yourselves and your Kolbe connections, and your homeschooling experience, if that's relevant, things like that. Jeanne, we'll start with you.
Yes, so I homeschooled my kids. I have 8 kids. I homeschooled for about 16 years, and then I had to go back to work. So I moved to Napa so that my kids could go to Kolbe Trinity Prep. I had used the Kolbe homeschool program previously, and so that just seemed like a perfect fit. And then I was there, we were living there for about a year, and then I was asked if I wanted to be an advisor at Kolbe. Then as the homeschooling expanded to online, I had to expand what I had to do. So they ended up making me the Dean of Admissions. And I pretty much have been doing that for the last, I don't know, I've been here 11 years, so it must be 9 years.
Okay. I have visited with you, phone and email several times over the years. It's my first opportunity to get to see you and visit with you. So it's really, I'm happy for that. I didn't know that you had served as an advisor as well. So all the more resource to us. Colleen, how about you?
Hi, so I was homeschooled most of my life by Jeanne. She is my mother. And junior year, I did go to public school for 5 seconds. And then senior year is when I went to Kolbe Trinity. And that was a great experience. We actually had a lot of Kolbe homeschoolers join in our sports team. So, and we all kind of fit in together, the homeschoolers with the Trinity preppers. It was great. And then I started working for Kolbe after I had my first child in 2021. And they didn't really have an actual job title. I remember Everett and Steve, but they're like, well, we're still trying to figure out what it is, because you need to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But a few weeks in, then it was just like a customer service rep. I was answering most of the calls and chatting with parents on our Happy Fox chat function thing on our site. And then just a few months ago, I started my position as customer service supervisor. So that's what I do now. And I also do help with some admissions tasks when I have time, when customer service slows down. So sometimes I will, if Jeanne needs help with certain things, I can hop in and do that as well.
It's interesting, and we're already getting the theme of how much Kolbe is kind of constantly transforming from Jeanne from the advisor to the admissions, and Colleen was coming in just as we were splitting up some of the tasks from the advisor position, because they used to do customer service, grade reports, and advising, and especially with so much growth, it was like, okay, these are very different things, and trying to manage all of those separate things, putting on one hat for 15 minutes and then running over here and doing that. And it was just very clear we needed to split those things up where you could focus more on one thing for a period of time.
What's it been like for you, Jeanne, to see how Kolbe has grown and changed over the years?
Well, I guess when I first started, it was the thinking was that you can do a lot of different things. You have to know what the bookstore is doing. You have to know what advisors, so you kind of had to know everything to be able to do your job. Whereas as things get more parceled out, it's a little bit easier because, I don't have to answer that because we have the advisor that can answer that. The hard part is because me wanting to help, I'll want to answer it. And it's like, no, shouldn't answer.
Sure.
And also, frankly, because some of the things have changed, so I might give a wrong answer. So that's why that part has really been very helpful to me. It's a matter of training myself.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thinking behind that too, of everybody being able to help, to be able to answer, was that we didn't want to make it seem like when you call Kolbe, you're going to get passed around. So that's why you want to be able to, most people should be able to answer basic questions. I think that's kind of the thinking. But it's a very specific question, very detailed, then it really ought to go to that.
Yeah.
It just makes me think when you're talking about that, how much even a challenge as you grow as an organization to make sure. So it's like, okay, you're becoming more specialized, but then it's like, oh, did we tell Jeanne that this was changing, or did we tell Colleen that this is now different? So we're trying to keep all of that kind of getting people the right information and then sometimes you say, then Jeanne will be able to say, oh, okay, but what about this or what about that? And it's like, oh no, we should have asked Jeanne about this a month ago before we jumped ahead. But so still working out some of those growing pains, but moving along.
What are some of your standout memories of homeschooling, you two?
I was just gonna say going on outings and no other kids being there because it was in the middle of the day during the week. Going to the beach in the morning because we lived in San Francisco. Going to the beach with my oldest brother, he would take us in the mornings and no one was there. So that freedom is nice.
I liked the outings too. I liked it when, because I always over time belonged to different homeschooling groups, and sometimes, we take turns, organizing some place to go. Apple picking. Remember the sticker factory?
I was just thinking when you got the season family pass to the Academy of Science, because
yes.
the tickets were like $25 per kid, but the pass was only $250, and you had 8 kids, so they all got included. So we went there all the time. That was so fun.
That was fun. That was a fun place.
Did you say sticker factory?
The sticker factory was really fun. Was it Mrs. Grossman's? Mrs. Grossman?
Yes.
Yes.
That's right.
It's very exciting. Did you tend to do outings? Was that kind of built into your routine? Like on Fridays, we go do something. Because I was kind of that way at the beginning of our homeschool chapter. I was like, okay, we're going to use Fridays. And almost like part of my planning, where are we going to go this Friday? We're going to do this. But I'm not like that now.
Yeah, Friday was our park day. It was, but sometimes if we can only do a certain thing on another day, then we just move these around. But Friday was the day usually, just for planning purposes. It was helpful for everybody in the homeschool group too.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a park day coming up. Do you want to do this instead? With the homeschool group, they had a mom's night out too. So actually, I think, for homeschooling families, that's a really important thing, to connect with the other moms without the kids. This is just with the moms, because a lot of times I'm sure that times to complain, but also times for solutions too, where we kind of work things out. Oh, this is how I handle this. Oh, what a great idea. These are the things that, we get a lot of great, things come out of it. So
yes,
I just remember,
it's fun too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just remember the leftover pie you'd bring us.
Good, nice.
Marie Collander's. That's where we meet up. Marie Collander's.
It was always chocolate French silk.
Yeah,
okay.
that was my favorite.
Yeah, that's my kind of pie right there. Yes.
That's a really good idea, though, with the mothers having a chance to kind of get out there and talk, because otherwise I was imagining as you were saying that, otherwise what happens is the mothers start talking like at the playground on the beach, and then you see like they're all talking about these things and the chaos that's ensuing as the kids are running around with the moms being distracted or me being distracted.
Oh
That's
yeah,
I
that
always had to.
happens too.
It's all part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was always horrible at those activities because I could start talking with somebody and it's like, is that your child over there? It's like, oh, sorry. I need to stop talking and start
Does he have a
supervising
can
right
of
now.
spray paint? Is that him?
Oh, no.
I don't know who that kid is over
Yep.
there.
I recognize that one. Yep. Yep. So was your group, was it basically, were you doing academic subjects or was it more activities or all extracurriculars?
Activities.
Okay.
I mean, although they organize sometimes to have a teacher to do a class, and that would be for, we pay the teacher monthly or something. That was, yeah, we did that for a couple of classes, three or four classes. Gosh, my memory's going. But it was mostly activities just to, to get out.
Mm-hmm.
And we were a part of multiple homeschool groups too. It wasn't fun.
There was always this mentality that when you take a homeschooling group, if you make it too structured, people go away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it becomes too rigid, and then the people, I don't want to be committed, and then they can't. So this way we kind of keep it open, just so that.
And I think that's what a lot of the families did, because Torch was a really big homeschool group. But inside that group, there were a lot of little small groups. But we would do really big fun things together, like the big All Saints Day party. I mean, we look forward to that every year. That was so much fun. And stuff like that. I think they had Cupcake Fridays at one point, like after First Friday Mass or something. So things like that they did Torch. And they also, was it Torch that did Mrs. Arata's AP English class?
Yes.
Yeah, that would have been
started from Torch. Yeah, they had a replacement for Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. They had organized the Blue Knights and the Little Flowers groups. So that we have a solid Catholic group to replace those organizations.
That sounds like a great group to be a part of. It's hard to hit that balance of structure versus flexibility. It sounds like you all had found it that way. That's great. So what sorts of questions do you tend to field, Jeanne, as Dean of Admissions? What are some of your top 2, 3, 4 that you hear on repeat?
Yeah, so this, most of the time these things will come up in the appointments that we have set up. And I'm sure because Colleen is set up to be able to take appointments on the fly, but we do have 4 people now that are taking the admission. Number one question is probably, are we accredited? Because people are, especially as they're getting high school age, they want to make sure that that the transcript isn't going to give them any problem later. Mm-hmm. Also, they want to know how much time is going to be required of me as a parent to implement this program. If their child that was in a traditional school, they're gone for 7 hours. Right now they have 3 kids, so that's 21 hours in the day. So you have to explain, there's a lot of fluff time at school. When you're homeschooling, you're going to be more precise, more efficient. It's not going to be 21 hours. A lot of parents homeschool multiple children, and it works out, fine. Because kids, as they get older, they build independence, and a lot of things they can do on their own. So you can spend more time with the younger kids. So and if it does turn out that you're spending too much time homeschooling, you always have a way that you can take a course and just say, this one would be good if I could find somebody who's teaching that, or you could sign up for an online course, or however, so that you can be relieved of that one course that's giving you trouble. So that's time, is especially nowadays. I think time is really critical. A lot of parents, both parents have to work sometimes. Maybe the mom is working part-time and is trying to pull this together, so they're not forced to have them in school. And then they're worried about their child not being socialized, you know. And that's one of those myths that, you know, we just have to keep on. I mean, yes, if you keep your child home alone, never go anywhere to, you know, yeah, but they do have you to learn socialization from. It's, you know, it's very limited, but it is socialization. But that's why I was saying earlier is that doing those outings is a great way to get out. Even going to the store is an outing, you know, and people talk to you, your kids talk to people, you know, and they're like, oh, that's wonderful, you know. Well, I got that in San Francisco a lot, so I was an oddity. So, and then of course the finances, they want to know how much, you know, and so we try to go over, you know, that we do have payment plans to make it so it's not so, like, you don't have to come up with a lot of money all at once. You know, we try to find ways so that people are able to implement the program and not, you know, not run out of money.
Okay.
I like with the socialization question as well, like when you were talking about getting out there with communities, one of the things I really like about that is it tends to be a more family-based thing, like in what you were explaining. So it's not like you're taking 20 third graders into a museum or whatever. It's so no, there's varying ages. And so you're interacting with people younger than you and older than you and other adults. And that's very foreign from the typical, you know, brick and mortar school situation where it's you're spending your time with 20 other kids your age or whatever the number might be. And that's not a really normal situation.
No, I completely agree with that. I think it's actually not great for kids to only be with kids their own age. When I went that one year, I went to public school. It is really hard being a freshman. I wasn't a freshman, thank goodness, but my sister was. But if you're anything, like if you're a junior or less, or if you're less than a junior, you're like nobody likes you. Like, and it really matters. Your grade, how old you are, it really matters when you're in public school. Even going to Trinity Prep, which is a brick and mortar school, they all hang out. Everybody hung out with each other. Everyone had lunch at the same time. You would see the high schoolers talking to the middle schoolers. We even had this buddy system where they would pair
Amigo Day.
Yeah, Amiga Day. Amiga
That's
Day.
neat.
Where you'd pair the older kids with the younger kids. And yeah, I've had friends who are younger than me and older than me, and that's healthy. I think that's much better for kids. Yeah, it's something that I think of a lot. I really don't think it's good for kids to only be around kids their own age. I think that is a myth. I think that's bad for kids.
Yeah. We have an episode actually where we discuss this whole socialization. I mean, it comes up frequently in our conversations here, but we did dedicate an episode to it, episode 105, not just for special occasions. That's one of our top most downloaded episodes, actually. So we'll drop a link to that in our show notes for this episode. It's a good conversation there about similar along these same lines. Okay. Any other questions come to mind, Jeanne, that you wanted to include in your top list?
I guess the other thing that I get asked a lot is the parent will have gone to the website and they'll say, I'm overwhelmed, you know, please help me, help guide me. And then I just sort of, you know, break it down and then show them how to navigate the website and then try to make things as clear as possible, you know, and try to explain that we do offer a lot of different things because we want to have our program available to the most people because options that we have, and we can serve more people. So it can be overwhelming, but we're doing that so that, you know, we can, you know, provide a lot of services and have people not pay for things they don't need, right? So they can hone in what exactly they need, what will be the best fit for them. And I think that's the most efficient way to do it. So, and people appreciate me explaining it. Oh, thank you so much. You know, now I understand. It's like you can have things written, but until you talk to somebody, then start to make more sense.
Definitely.
It seems to me that Kolbe takes care of such a wide variety of needs for parents. So sometimes even the messaging can be a little difficult because we have with the online program and all of the extra services you can have somebody who's like, I really need you to do a lot for me over here So I'm going to delegate some of those decisions to you. I just want you to do it. But then we've got people who've been doing Kolbe for 20 some years, and they know what they're doing, and we don't want to like tell you what you have to do and make you jump through hoops that you don't want to. But then at the same time, we're communicating with somebody who's more inclined to say, you just do it, tell me what I need to do, and I'll be happy. So you can't just say one, it's hard to say one thing, I think, and have it hit the huge spectrum of the communities that we serve.
I'm guessing you've probably developed a sort of I don't know what they're called, like flow chart. Anyway, you have some question you start with, and then like depending on how they answer that, okay, then you go down this direction, and if they say no, then you take a hard left over here, and then okay, we're in this area, then you end up. That's what I have going in my mind right now is
Pretty
Jeanne's flow
much.
chart. Yes. Okay, Colleen, what about you in customer service? What sorts of stuff are you hearing?
It would be pretty similar to what Jeanne just said, honestly. And I was trying to think what's something different that people ask. And something that I do get a bit of is, how Catholic are you? I know that you're Catholic, but are you actually Catholic? And usually it's families who come from a diocesan school or something like that, and where the teachers aren't even really Catholic. And that's a really hard one to prove because there's just a lot of distrust in general in a lot of our institutions. But I try to convince them by saying, well, I mean, all of our employees have to sign something, a form that says you have to obey the magisterium, follow the magisterium. And you have to be careful when you word that, though, because some people really don't like Pope Francis, and so then you might go off a different rant. But I try to convince them, like, all of our employees are Catholic. Our founders were, strongly Catholic. You can go to our site, you can watch our I actually do tell them to go to Kolbecast so they can watch some episodes to feel a little bit more comfortable. And then of course I tell them to just look at our curriculum. And then we do have really good some of our video clips are advertisements from former students. Of course, one of our students, at least one, I mean, the one in the video is now a nun for, I believe, the Marian sisters. So I am glad that I can always show them that one, because the Marian sisters are just awesome. And it's hard to not like them. So, but yeah, that's a really common question, is how Catholic are you really? And I always have a really hard time with that one.
It's hard to answer, yeah.
Because I understand.
Yeah. You almost just want to kind of pull back the drapes there, or the blinds,
Yes.
or whatever, and say, just if you look at, I mean, they're not there, you can't do it, but like, let's look at some of our classes where they're leading with the prayer, and there's obvious, people are praying for each other. And our meetings are often like that as well. And the materials, of course, so the curriculum, whatever, it's all there. It's like, wait, how do I even respond to that?
Yeah. That's a hard question to present and answer, and you can see where they're coming from. Yeah. Do you have something else that you hear a lot of, or that you want to mention, Colleen?
Sometimes, something basic if they're new would be, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. How do I even pick courses?
Yeah.
We actually have course selection guides on our site that people do not know exist half the time. And those are really helpful. So I usually just email them the link and they're like, oh, well, that's easy. And then of course, I always tell them, as soon as you pick everything, go over everything with your advisor. Because I want to make sure. Oh, and then something else that they always ask if they're already enrolled would be, oh, can I get credit for this course that's not Kolbe? I can never say yes to that because every situation is different. So it's very important for any family out there who has a non-Kolbe course that you talk to your advisor about that, because every course is different. Every situation is different. And I cannot guarantee you that you're going to get credit for a specific course. So that is an advisor question. Just want to say that.
They're receptive to it. They're happy to review stuff and work with you on it. Yeah.
We will look at anything. And usually we don't have a problem accepting credit for courses. So I don't want to make it sound like we're super strict and we never accept it. I just want to be very cautious when it comes to that question.
And it's again one of those things where we could just say, here's our curriculum, boom, and do the ninth grade, do these courses. But I mean, both we recognize that, not all of those courses might be right for the particular student, but we also are perfectly happy when you've got the parent who says, yeah, that's a good course, but we want to explore this. And so we're going to even put together our own course using these books. And yeah, then it's the advisor's job to say, okay, so you're getting, these are the books you're doing. Okay, so what sort of assessments are you going to have? Because we have to have something for the grade reporting. And you go through all of those, kind of check the boxes off. But we could make it simple for everybody, but then you'd lose all of that communication about that flexibility and the ability to customize it for that particular child, which, yeah, again, is go to the advisor, go to just run everything by them, and they'll help you get into the right things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so frequently I see questions to the tune of, what happens now after, like, I just enrolled? If they were asking you, how would you respond to that?
Well, we have so many steps when they enroll that have to be completed. So if they log into the portal, they should be able to tell where they are in the process some way. If they see course registration, that means they got to register for their courses. If it says advisor review, that means that the advisor is currently reviewing it. If it says final review, that means that they are probably just waiting for the last additional fees to be added, or if they drop the course or whatever. That's the thing. Once it says active, they're ready to go. So if they have a bookstore credit, that would be the next thing. They should wait to get their bookstore credit. It will come by email, and also their book draft. They'll get that too, so they can get their books ordered. Try to encourage people to get their books as soon as they're able to get your books. You want to make sure everybody's ready to go on the first day. Not because sometimes, I know this from my years of homeschooling, it's a bad idea to try to order books in August. You're probably not going to get them. One year we had to start in October because for planning. So
that is a hectic time. Yeah, and when this episode's coming out, that is around the time, like, if you haven't ordered books yet, that goes on the to-do list. Yes. And also along with that, we have an episode with Nancy Nelson from the bookstore. It's a couple years old now, but there's still a lot of very good information in there. It's great to visit with Nancy and get a peek into the bookstore operations. And that is episode 103, Above and Beyond. Again, I'll put that in our show notes. Sorry, Stephen, were you going to say something?
As Jeanne and again was talking, I was thinking, okay, probably I'd say keep an eye on the email and maybe check, sure you haven't gotten the blocked emails or whatever. But if you're at all concerned, probably the first thing I would do, other than once you kind of think things should be moving along, is probably get on there and schedule an appointment with your advisor. I mean, if you're at all uncertain about what the next steps are, because for one, you just get a chance to meet your advisor who you'll be working with. So that would be fun. But also they can check on things, make sure everything's okay. Or, if Jeanne was our savior our first year with Kolbe Academy, we're getting used to all of the course reg, and there was the problems with, like, it would time, or like we'd step away from our computer and then something would happen, and then we'd have to have it reset to start over and do things. And my wife just reached out to Jeanne and she just helped get us through. So if you're not sure if you've made it, talk to Colleen or Jeanne and they'll tell you the next steps too. But.
Well, yeah. And something you can always do is, if you're a parent and you're frozen, you're like, what do I do? It's been 2 days. I enrolled. Nothing's happened. You can always just hop on the Happy Fox chat box and just say, hey, I enrolled a couple days ago. What do I do now? That's a really common thing. And usually whoever will answer will look up your name, look up your family, see where you are, show you how to get there, and say, okay, this is where you are right now. I see you're in the review process. The reason why you haven't been moved forward is XYZ. Usually it's because the family did not create their Blackbaud account, or they want to pay in full, and so they have to call and pay in full. But that chat is open from 7:30 a.m. Pacific time to 2:30 p.m. Pacific time. So they can get a live person between those hours, Monday through Friday. I try to log in sometimes at 6 a.m. so I can catch some of those earlier families. But 7:30 definitely someone will be on there. And I also would say I recommend, if you really want to talk to your advisor and you want to talk to them as soon as possible, it's an emergency, or any advisor, you have to call earlier in the day, because we do not have a lot of full-time advisors anymore. A lot of them work earlier. So calling earlier in the day is always better.
So you're referring to the chat that you can get to from the homepage, kolbe.org. It's down at the bottom, right? There's a box that says
Yep.
chat with us, right? Okay.
Yep. And it's always a live
No.
person.
We don't have a creepy chat bot sort of thing.
Yeah,
like
well,
the other.
people think I'm a chat bot. Like, they'll go on there, I'll be like, advising. I'll be like, hello. And they'll type advising. I'm like, no, hi.
I'm a person.
You can also like leave a message, so to speak, outside of those hours. So it results in like an email ticket. Then folks will follow up with people. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So
So
that's like
even
the starting point.
Right. So even if no one's there, if you go in at midnight, you put in a message, it'll turn to a ticket, and Claire will go through those. She goes through them every single day. That's mostly what she does. So she'll answer it probably the next day.
I'm thinking she has a fun mug of something tasty to drink, coffee, something going while she's sorting through all that, routing them where they need to go. Hopefully, yes. Okay. And then to schedule meetings with advisors, just adjacent to that, there's also a link on the homepage to do that as well. If you want to schedule an appointment with your advisor, you can pick out the time from when they have available. And so we'll have links to this in our show notes too, so people can go where they need to go if they are hearing something that speaks directly to their situation. Okay. Regarding setting up for a new school year, especially if you're new. So let's start with the new folks to Kolbe. They are through this process mostly, and they've picked out they've ordered books. They've confabbed with their advisor. They kind of a sense of at least that they have that mapped out. Do you have further pointers for the next steps to getting their school years off to a good start from there?
I used to have in the welcome packet on the first page, it was
Oh, I know what you're talking about, that quick start guide. I remember that. That
Quick
was
start
like
guide,
I
yes.
had that front and center. That's right.
Because sometimes what happens is that, parents think, oh, I got to read all this stuff first and I'm not ready.
Yes.
So it was a guide to just so you can just dig in. And then
it's still there.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, no, it's still there. You just go under current families, hit welcome packet. I have to lead people there all the time.
Oh, okay.
That's a handy spot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's also where Ashley has that handy dandy webinar about turning in grade report. And I send that to people all the time. So when you go to the welcome packet, you click, I'm like going through it just to make sure. Yep, you click filing grade reports, and there's a YouTube webinar right there where Ashley goes into great detail about how to file grade report. So I definitely recommend that to anybody who is still confused about the process. She's very thorough. It's very helpful.
So that link, the welcome packet, it's a link on the website as we've mentioned, and it's got several things to download from there. It's like, imagine it being a packet of fun mail arriving, but you download the documents or watch the videos or, go other places anyway. So like the fillable report card or your attendance record or that quick start guide, or there used to be, at least anyway, maybe there still is, a guide to a general sense of how long things take based on age and subject, how frequently to do it during the week. Of course, you can customize it to your situation, but it's helpful to be like, okay, we're going to do geography twice a week. We're going to do vocab 4 times a week, that kind of thing. And it should take my third grader, however long, 10 minutes I don't know if that's it. It's been a long time since I had a third grader, so that's probably not the best example, but that's very helpful to me. I ended up setting up a binder. I've talked about this binder a few times, but it's been a while, so I'll just drop this in here if it's helpful to folks. I have a binder. I call it my weekly binder. And I printed off a bunch of that stuff from the welcome packet. There's a parent student handbook that we also get that's printed out, and it's in my binder. I also have sections for each child so we get all these course plans for the homeschool courses that we're doing, or syllabi from the online courses that have a map of what they're going to cover in those classes. So I save all those, I print them. So for the homeschool course plan, it's however many pages long in an Adobe PDF that I save, and then I'll print it. And for each child, I have 4 kids, one of whom is just finished his first year of college at this point. So this doesn't apply to him anymore. Anyway, in the weeds now. So I have a binder for each kid and all their course plans for the year, whatever they are. Thinking back to the years when I had mostly homeschool course plans. Y'all probably have this picture well in mind by now, and I'm just belaboring this point. So every kid has a binder for all their course plans. And so but I don't have all 4 binders out in front of me every day. So I will take the week that we're on, maybe 2 weeks at a time, put them in my weekly binder. And I have a divider for each kid. So whatever homeschool subjects I'm working on with my child, whichever child, I just have that week's course plan, maybe 2, in that section of my weekly binder, and the rest of it stays in the bigger binder. So when I have the wherewithal to do so, at the end of a week, I will empty out the page that we've been working on that week, put it back in the bigger binder, get the next week out, look it over, have some sense of what's happening next. Again, this varies in reality. Okay. But switch them out routinely, and then I can make notes on them, and then they're still organized by child. And then I have this more working binder that I'm working from, and I'll have sections in there, different resources. I have like long lists of literature lists, or guides to writing book reports, or the Kolbe literature courses have supplemental material that goes with them. I will keep that in there so I can refer to that. I've talked for a really long time about my binder now, so I'm very happy with it. It actually needs to be cleaned up, but I'm terrible about letting stuff go from it because I think I might need it later. Anyhow, so that's one way folks organize their course plans. So I know you can get them printed and bound from the Kolbe bookstore, but if you're getting them electronically, that's how I do mine. So anyway,
It's a great way to do it.
for whatever's useful there, take what's useful, discard the rest. Anyhow, yeah. Do you have other thoughts you want to add on the organizational side or the getting started side?
I was just thinking that just a reminder for parents to always try to make sure they download their course plans, because some parents just look at them on the portal and just use it from there, which is fine. It's just that if you go past the August, they'll all be gone.
Yeah.
And so then they'll have to message their advisor, and their advisor will probably email them one. But to just skip all that hassle, just make sure you always download your course plan and test.
Even if you don't print them out. Yeah.
Even if you don't print them out.
You don't have to log in, and if if your internet's out or whatever. Yes. And I'd have my kids do the same. My kids are at least half online now, if not more so. So same thing, download all of everything that you can, download it so that you have it locally. Yeah. Okay.
I was finding that, so this is only tangentially related, but when COVID started and you're getting a lot of people who are completely unfamiliar with homeschooling, I remember getting asked questions like very specific, like, do I need to have a desk where my child's going to sit at and have a schoolroom, and did you have any particularly strange requests? I mean, they're okay requests because people just really needed to know, but anything kind of unusual when COVID was around, or people are so new?
Well, one of the things that I recall about that year, even Kolbe Trinity, they were doing the virtual online. They converted because they had to close, the school couldn't be open, so this way they could finish out the school year. And because this is what a lot of schools were doing, is they basically just set up the camera and had the teacher, and then the kids were just logged in. That was it. And it was like 7 hours. And I remember coming home from work and just going, what the heck? This is not school. Sitting in front of a screen all day. Well, this is what a lot of parents were telling me, the same thing. It's like, I just can't imagine my child sitting in front of the computer all day. And I've said, well, that's really not how we're set up. We have our online classes are Monday through Thursday. You pick the times, and you may have one morning where you might have 4.5 hours of school time, but then the next day it'll be lighter, 2 hours or whatever. So it's unrealistic to have so much screen time. because you got to get the work done. You got to have time to get the work done.
Yeah. And the classes aren't all day, every day. They meet periodically, depending on what they are.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a common comment.
Yeah, interesting. Because our online classes are formatted much more like a college schedule where your classroom time is limited, but there's all of the reading and writing and all of the homework stuff outside. So it's very different than the typical brick and mortar, but more similar to a college course schedule sort of thing.
Yeah, I think it's the attitude of maybe it's public school. I don't know, but that they're the ones that have to, they have to provide everything for the student. I always think of Annie Get Your Gun when she's trying to learn how to read, right? And she's got someone who's going to help her. She says, "Come on, learn me, learn me." It's like, well, yeah, you're the one that's going to have to learn.
Good. Yeah.
Teach me, teach me.
Right, yes. Encouraging that self-directed learning, which is, I mean, really important instead of just this passive sort of tell me what I have to memorize for the next test. Yeah.
And that takes some time too, especially if you're coming from a different school environment like that. The term I landed on for our first year of homeschooling was a grace period. I gave myself this grace period to kind of figure it out, and knew that even in spite of the concerns I had about kids falling behind, or we're not doing it right, or we're not doing enough, or all that kind of stuff, I just somehow was able to embrace this idea of this grace period, like just give myself some time to figure it out, give us all a chance to figure out how we're going to make this work, and not expect it to be all nailed down and we have this perfect routine from the get-go, or, and because we don't have that in any other sphere of life, and seem to have that expectation of ourselves in school. But anyway, yeah. So for anyone who's new, grace period. Yeah. There it is. Yeah.
And that's one of the questions too, because some parents they'll say, well, we didn't finish the book or whatever. And I was like, you know what? I remember in school, we'd get our books. This is a long time ago, but I would say, we're going to read that whole book. Look, I don't remember any class ever reading the whole textbook, so you're going through the book, the pieces that are important. Sometimes you won't get to all of it. It'll be okay.
That's one of the nice things about the course plan too. Like, that we have done enough. This course plan is mapped out. Like, we have done enough. Yeah.
I also tell parents, this applies really to it would apply to async and traditional homeschool courses. It's okay if it takes you longer than 9 months to finish a course. Go into the summer, it's fine. A lot of our families actually work the whole school year, all 12 months. They might take a couple weeks break. But I knew a lot of homeschoolers growing up, they did school all year round. So that's not bad. And if you're doing a mix of online and homeschool, and you realize the online is taking up most of your time, that is also okay. You can, slow down on the homeschool stuff. That can wait a little bit, right? Plan on finishing that during the summer. Focusing on the online class might be important at that time for you.
We do a lot of year-round homeschooling here at our house as well. I mean, not all the courses, it's not like full bore all year long, but that way you can do some things over the summer, it lightens up the rest of the year, and you can focus on those. But I always think that, it's just important for homeschoolers to kind of keep the end in mind, because like we'll have people come in and be very concerned. Well, especially I understand this from first-hand experience, but like, it's my oldest child, and we're going into preschool or kindergarten, and I don't want to mess this up. And it's like, okay, just have some fun. You're not going to mess this up at this point. But like, it's like, oh, we're going to go to. Eventually, we're thinking maybe college, if that's right for my kids. Okay, well, then high school needs to be getting them ready for college, and then the younger grades need to be getting them ready for high school, and then you go all the way down, and it's like, well, eventually we get the reading and the arithmetic down. We're probably pretty good. If they can write, that's good too. I mean, although sometimes the writing in our family, it's maybe we should type instead of write because it's not very legible, but that's a different issue.
So at this point, if folks are left wondering whom to contact for various types of questions, we've talked about the admissions office, the advisors, customer service. Do you have anything more you want to add to that part?
I mean, a starting point, I think, is to just open up that little chat box function. Because the worst thing that's going to happen is I'm going to say, reach out to your advisor.
Okay.
So at least you can find out who your person is going to be. I think that's just the easiest way. Two of us even have the chat app downloaded on our phones. So even when we step away from our computer, we're still chatting with families. So we're usually pretty good about staying on top of those. So I think that's just the easiest, quickest. You just think of something, you can just go to the website, chat your, like, just type your question. I just think that's the easiest way.
Okay. Is there anything you'd want to say to the returning Kolbe families at the start of a new school year? They have a sense of how it goes, however long they've been with us, and anything you want to have to add to what we talked about, or going in that direction of you've been at this for a while, here's some updates or anything like that.
Maybe check if you have any bookstore credit left. Maybe there's a little bit on there, because if there is, it's probably gonna expire soon. So
okay, that's good to know.
You should probably check on that, because it expires a year after you get it. And if you think you have a little something left, just hop on that Happy Fox chat and see if we can look into it for you.
Okay.
That's right. And the bookstore will buy back books. So that's a good opportunity to, well, as a homeschooling mom, I know I had way too many books. But the idea of being able to sell them back to the store so you can buy more is a good thing.
Yeah. Can you ever have too many? I guess it becomes problematic where they're all going to go. Maybe in that respect. Okay.
Once you decide to move, then you realize that you have.
That's when you realize.
That's the first thing you pack, right? Yes.
And then it's like, but do I want to bring a bed along too? Then I guess I have to get rid of some books in order to. No.
I think the bookstore site has some information about the buyback process too. I'll confirm that and put that in our notes. Okay. Okay. Any final thoughts or guidance you want to give, wisdom to impart, takeaways?
One of the things when I'm doing my admissions appointments, I usually start off, well, I'll ask very basic questions in the beginning, but I do spend a good amount of time listening, because then it helps me to be able to, help them, hone in on what they need. But a lot of times, listening in general is a really good idea. When you're getting a call, I got a couple of hot calls last week, and the advisor warned me this customer is unhappy. I just spent a few minutes listening, and you just don't respond negatively. Just listen and just say, okay, well, I'm going to look into that. But listening is actually really has turned people around. Just being heard is enough. They're mad about something, and a lot of times they're mad about something else. And then this becomes the straw that broke the camel's back, and everything unloads. But when I returned the call back to the advisor, I say, well, she wasn't mad. Because I really spent the time listening, and that was about it. And then, just okay, well, see what I can do. And that's about it.
Yeah, people like talking to you though.
Maybe it's calming, just having somebody just to calm. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Especially when they know that you have a sense of what it's like for them, having had your own experience of it. So you can kind of have a sense of connection with them with similar experiences in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least I can't say that I don't recall, and I'm positive that I've never experienced any of the people who are there to take the calls or to help homeschooling families have not been just completely on board with doing whatever they can to help them. Now, sometimes we can't fix a problem, but so that as people are calling in or whatever, to keep that in mind, that there's lovely people like Jeanne and Colleen and the advisors that are just trying to find a way to help and to make that solution. So if you can, even if you're in the midst of that sort of whirlwind of stuff, if you can step back and just try to explain what the problem is and give us a chance to try to fix that for you. There's always a lot that can be done.
Mhm.
Yeah. Something I was thinking about too is sometimes a kid is in an online class and all of our teachers are really awesome. I've not really heard anything bad, but sometimes a teacher just doesn't click with a student. That's just the way it is sometimes. But if you call and talk to your advisor, sometimes we can just switch it up. We can put you in the other class, or you can always change it to async. There's no fee for that. In fact, you should get a little refund depending on when you switch it. But that's always an option. If you're unhappy with an online class, we can try, see if we can get you in a different section. If you don't like the teacher for whatever reason, or you can do the async. That's sometimes parents are upset about that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Even, even when it comes to your advisor or something, if it's not clicking, it doesn't have to be that somebody's a bad person or that somebody doing what they should be doing. It just sometimes a different situation would work better. And so if you ask about that, that's often something we can do.
So many of the, what are they called? Soft skills. I don't know, that the liberal arts education, it kind of helps students develop. We see it in action in interacting with the Kolbe staff. All right. Well, as always, our show notes are going to have links to stuff that came up during the conversation today. So we'll ask folks to check that out if that is of use to them. Jeanne and Colleen, I'm really glad that we've gotten this time to visit together today. And thank you both so much for all you do for Kolbe and all the help you've been to our family and to all the Kolbe families. And we hope you come back and visit with us real soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Subscribe to the Kolbecast on your favorite podcast app so that you don't miss an episode. And let us know how we're doing by leaving a rating or a review. And as always, feel free to email us at podcast@kolbe.org.
Mary, our Mother, pray for us. St. Maximilian Kolbe, St. Ignatius of Loyola, holy saints and angels, pray for us. Ad maiorem Dei gloriam.